Welcome to today's episode of Awaken the Feminine Within. We are getting into what it's like to have unshakable confidence, okay? This has been on my heart and my mind because I keep seeing why it is so critically important for women. And I feel like it's this elusive thing that most women think that only certain women have, and that's a load of BS, okay? If you think that only certain amounts of women or only certain women who are like, oh, well, you're born with that, or, oh, well, it must be nice. No, we're not doing any of that today. Here, okay? No. So first things first, why do you think if you fall into that path of, or into that lane of like, well, only certain women are able to experience unshakable self-confidence? Let's start asking why, okay? Why is it that only certain women are allowed to experience that? And how come not you, if you feel like you're not quite fully there yet? So is this something that you want? Let's dive into what it really looks like to have unshakable self-confidence. What does that look like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does that even look like for me? What does it look like for me to have unshakable self-confidence? Now, you know what's really funny is over the course of my life, I feel like especially over the last, probably since my son was born. So, well, no, maybe even before that. When I was younger, in college or even pre-college, I attached my confidence to the way I aesthetically looked. That was a massive mistake, okay? You don't need to do that in order to experience any kind of confidence. And then from there, I had children, really lost anything that I had when I had children. And from there, and if you guys listen to my first, I don't even remember what podcast episode I talked about that on, but it was when I talked about how my husband, very gently was like, oh, well, you might feel better if, you focus a little bit more on clothes. That might make you feel better. I mean, this, bless his heart, he was just like, oh, this might help. And I was like, okay. And then only then did the self-confidence really start coming and appearing. But it ebbed and flowed. It was like, it's there and then it's not there. It's there and then it's not there. And then when I built my photography business, what I noticed was happening is my confidence was being built on an idea that really truly wasn't me. Like I would be super confident going into like networking events and being like, yeah, you should work with me. I'm the center of attention. And I still get comments about that even to this day. People were like, oh, I met you and I knew that like you were different. You were someone who I should pay attention to. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that stuff actually worked. Except it all came crashing down like not even a year later because I just couldn't sustain that facade because it really wasn't truly coming from me. It was like this, I was using like my clothes and jewelry or whatever as like an armor. And it wasn't truly actually me as I sit here with like all the accessories on, if you're watching on YouTube. And that's because I genuinely love accessories now. I genuinely am like, you know what? I'm just going to wear really bright pink earrings just because I can, just because that literally gives me dopamine and I freaking love it. And that's what I want to do. But it took me to I had to go back to the drawing board and I had to be like, oh, what makes me me, first of all? And is that something I'm comfortable am I okay being seen as me? Because ultimate unshakable confidence comes from you feeling safe being you and knowing that you're the shit and that everyone else should be paying attention to you because you are the shit. And that is a level of audaciousness that you get from being like, well, I am like if you're watching on YouTube, I'm like flicking my hair over here. It's like, I am this way and I deserve to be seen. I deserve to have the attention on me because I'm that amazing. I'm that good. I'm that phenomenal. I am stunning no matter what your shape or size is because your worth and you see your value, period, exclamation point, all the things, like all the emphasis, double emphasis, the stars, everything. Like you are that girl. So let's break it down. What does it look like and feel like to be that girl? Okay. I'm just going to stereotype this because I feel like this is what other people are seeing when they look at, oh, what is it like to be someone who has confidence? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, she's not looking in the mirror being like, oh, I don't really like this and this and this and this and this and this and this. She's not looking in the mirror and first things first, tearing herself down. And I'll take myself as an example. I'm going through this weird bloaty stage and it has something to do with all my health problems. And I have my face especially is really, really, really puffy. Is that stopping me from wearing all of my favorite jewelry, clothes, whatever, blah, blah? No. When I look in the mirror, of course, I notice that the first thing. And what I've tried to do is I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to see it for what it is, but I'm not going to go any farther than that. There's no reason for me to tear myself down. I have no control over the situation that I'm aware of, and I'm still working through that with my health provider. But I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to be like, okay, what do I want to, what I'm seeing in front of me when I look in the mirror is like face value. Great. I noticed this and this and this. Is there really anything that can be done about it? Yes, no, maybe so. And I'm like, well, I'm going to spend my time making myself feel good because I want to feel good about myself. But also, how do I feel? So it's kind of like I have this weird conversation with myself in the mirror. And I'm like, how do I feel about me? I'm like, you know what? Aesthetically, could things be better? Sure. I don't really want to tear myself down right now, so I'm not really going to think or look too much into it, the aesthetic things that I obviously don't have any control over. And otherwise, I'm like, oh, what do I want to do with my hair today? What is going to make me feel more aligned to that inner self that I've worked on and that I've developed? So when we look at a stereotypical from the outside, say you're someone who doesn't feel like they have unshakable confidence, and you look at someone from the outside and you think like, oh, they have it. I'm going to try and pull from my mind what you might think they might be experiencing. They just, first of all, they don't feel like they really care, right? They don't really give the appearance of caring. They are obsessed with themselves, and that might trigger you because it's like, ooh, that's not a good trait. Well, we're going to get into that in a second. They are put together. They don't even need to be put together. I mean, look at Adam Sandler. Like, he's like totally owning everything, and he just walks around, in like loose, baggy, homeless like clothing, and that's totally fine. They might not have to be put together, but I think the feeling of being put together is an aura that they give off simply because they're like, well, I don't care. I'm just going to wear what I'm going to wear. Therefore, I'm a badass. And so you have this kind of vibe of like, oh, shoot, maybe I should dress like that. No, it has nothing to do with the style that they're wearing or the exact clothes that they're wearing. It has to do with the fact that they are obsessed with what they're wearing. They love it. And so therefore they're like, I'm the shit, right? So what else might you see? Well, honestly, for the most part, it's just going to be a feeling that you're going to get. You're going to notice people that are confident way faster than other people that are not giving off that vibe. For the most part, confident people trigger people that are not confident. And it's like, oh, well, I want to have that. And you probably are going to notice things about their body from an outside perspective also right away. So it might be like, oh, well, I wish I had that figure, or oh, I wish I was that skinny, or oh, I wish I had those proportions, or that bust, or that butt, or whatever. And it's like, that confidence does not come from that. Confidence comes from you looking in the mirror and being like, she is freaking awesome. I love her. I love what she does, who she is, who she wants to be, what she stands for. So what do you stand for? What do you want to stand for? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does it feel like to step into the person? So say you're visualizing right now what that future version of you looks like when has the unshakable confidence, where she has this like, it like oozes out of you, where you're just like, yes, like I love me. I'm feeling into me. Like, of course, everyone should be wanting and craving my attention. This is who I am. This is who I want to be, et cetera, et cetera. Let's dig in, because I know, like, when I was doing this work and I was working on and for me, I wasn't really coming at it from the perspective of like, oh, I want to be confident. It was just like, I just want to welcome me. I want to love who I am. I want to love that little girl that was really, really loud and really obnoxious and really just was doing that because she wanted to feel loved. I want to love her. I want to welcome her. Like that girl that was so freaking obsessed with pink. Hello. Like I am wearing a pink dress, pink earrings, pink headband. I literally was on Amazon looking at pink chunky rings earlier. Like I am pink microphone. Like I am so obsessed with pink because I am healing that inner child that always felt ashamed of that. And now I'm like, well, I'm going to be obsessed on another level. And I mean, I'm wearing this much pink today because I'm going to see Barbie tonight. But it was so important to me that I learned to look and love aspects of me without shame. Because I think that shame is one of the biggest blocks in getting and experiencing unshakable self-confidence? Where does the shame come from? Why are there other people's opinions lingering in your mind? No matter what you decide to dress, you can wear a mini skirt for all I care, walk out on the street and be like, I'm the shit. But if that is like, well, I couldn't wear that because so blah, 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 why? Why are there reasons coming out as to why you just simply can't fall in love with you? Why is it that you loving you is such a trigger? Why is it triggering? Does it mean that you're selfish? Depending on how you look at it, sure, but why does that matter? Because I'm not saying that I'm so self-absorbed that I can't be present for my partner or my children or my clients in my life. That it could not be farther from the truth. Me being able to love myself allows me to be more present for the people that I serve. And I have people that come up to me like all the time and they're like, oh my gosh, like I get compliments, so many freaking compliments. And it's like, it took me a little bit to be like, oh yeah, I'm probably going to get those. Like I don't look for them ever when I'm out and about, but I naturally just get a lot of compliments. And I think it has less to do with my accessories and how I'm put together and more to do with the fact that I am just so safe and I feel so safe in who I am and who dude, when I leave, I'm going to take a picture. You guys have probably seen it on social media, but I have pink shoes, pink dress, pink earrings, and I'm going to wear a pink purse to go to Barbie because that's only appropriate. I mean, and like it's Barbie, hello. And I get kind of giddy because under normal circumstances, like I don't wear that much pink quite day to day. Exactly. I break it apart a little bit and not that I can't because I love a monochromatic look, but I love occasions where I can step into that even further because it just brings me so much joy. And I'm like, oh, like I should be doing this more often because it literally like all that matters is that this brings me joy. So what does it look like for you to have confidence? Get a notebook out, you can like, come back to, we're about a quarter way into the podcast right now. You can come back to this point later on because honestly, this is something well worth journaling about. So what does it look like for you to have confidence? What does it feel like for you to step into the version of yourself that's like, yeah, everyone else should be seeing me? How can I welcome me? How can I be more encouraging to me? If there is shame that's coming up or if there is guilt, because guilt is another thing that comes up, it's like, oh, well, because confidence, don't confuse it with pride. Don't confuse it with like, oh, egotistical. Like that's not what I'm talking about here. People who are egotistical and confident, like they're like so annoying. They're like, flat. You're just like, get away from me. Like, I don't want to be around you. And they're coming at it from like, there's too much I don't even want to say there is too much confidence, but there's too much arrogance. Like, oh, well, I should be the center of the universe. I'm not saying that I have to be the center of the universe. I'm just saying I know my worth and I know my value, and I'm not going to lower that for somebody else. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go be rude to other people. So there is a clear distinction between arrogance, rudeness, and confidence. So don't confuse. And I think that's what some people often think is like, oh, well, confident people are really rude. That might be true. There are tons of confident people that because they have gotten, they've never been taught how to be kind, that they unfortunately do have traits where they are very arrogant and very rude. But that doesn't mean that that's going to happen to you. I mean, I would have someone slap me if I ever came across as being arrogant or rude to any one of my clients, or if I showed up at a networking event and I was like, I'm going to be snooty and not talk to you because I'm too good for you. No, like, please slap me if you ever. Sometimes my tone of voice can throw people off because I'm very confident. And so sometimes that can be seen as perceived as arrogance, but I'm like the most open-minded person, non-judgmental person, which, if you don't know me, you might not know that, but like very few things bother me and I don't get offended by literally anything. So it's like, there's no need. Most people use arrogance as a form of defensiveness because they're afraid to be vulnerable. Okay, I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. So don't confuse what it feels like to be confident and worry that you're going to become an arrogant person. Because in my opinion, confidence is the ultimate self-love. It's you being willing to see you for who you honestly and truly are. And that, like, the road and the path to unshakable self-confidence is really a personal development journey, because, you know, for some women, they lose a lot of weight and then they gain self-confidence. And in my opinion, that is in some way, shape, or form what I would call a sense of false confidence, because your body gave it to you. It's not you giving it to you for the sake of just you by yourself. Like, unshakable self-confidence comes from the inside of you, your inner soul, your inner person, your willingness to see you for who you are and to back her up and to have her back no matter freaking what. So even though I've gained, it's not even like I haven't even gained a lot of weight, but I'm a lot bigger because of my bloating health problem. And it's like, I'm going to stand up for her no matter what. I'm still going to dress cute no matter what. That's what she deserves. I'm not going to turn into some kind of homeless person simply because, oh, my body, yes, it is massively uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean that I deserve to not feel cute. I will not punish myself because of one singular feeling that might come from my body, and I'm going to do my best to still feel good because I deserve that. I deserve to feel good about my body. I deserve to feel a sense of joy and contentment, even though the process doesn't feel as good as, you know, and it's like, anyways, I'm not going to dive into my health problems, but I am truly worthy. I see my worth. I choose it every single day. I have to choose it. And there are some times where I fall off the bandwagon and I'm like, ooh, the unshakable part, she's becoming a little questionable. And then I have to catch myself and be like, are you forgetting something here? Because when was the last time you actively chose to support you, to actively have your own back, to actively not shame? Because, hello, I mean, all of us here can attest to the fact that like self-shame and self-criticism is like a woman's best friend, practically. And so it is really hard to get out of the habit of walking away from that and choosing to step away from the habits that have kept you safe, quote unquote, or you thought have kept you safe your whole entire life. Where I ultimately think that the unshakable aspect of having the self-confidence comes from is from not giving a rat's ass what other people think about you. That also means that, so ultimately how this works is you're the only person that's going to care about you. That's all you need. You don't need your partner's affirmation, confirmation, love, whatever. You don't need it. You have it, which is amazing. And if you don't, that's okay. If you're single, totally fine. But you don't need your parents. You don't need your friends. You don't need someone else to tell you that you look good in that outfit. You need you to tell you look good in that outfit and to be like, yeah, I feel amazing. You need to lean into you. And when you have that and you don't need to rely on other people to back you up, then now you have unshakable self-confidence, because you know that nothing else is going to take you out of that lane except for you. You're going to be the only one that trips you up. But ultimately, if you can choose every single day when you look in the mirror that you're a badass, that you look amazing, that you are like, yeah, I'm a good person. Like I have amazing traits. I love my hair, love my skin, love my body, whatever. And if you don't feel comfortable saying that you love your body, it's okay. You can work on it. But you can still build up those aspects of self-confidence by being there for you and being like, okay, how else? The more you get comfortable and the more you feel safe with the idea of being there for you, the faster you're going to get this confidence. The other aspect of what I call unshakable self-confidence is letting go. So what do I mean by that? I mean letting go of other people's opinions of you. And ultimately, and this is really hard in today's age with the internet, because I'm a sensitive person, I can like feel what other people are thinking about me without even talking to them or without even seeing. They don't even need to write anything and I can feel it. And I'm like, ooh, you know, it's very tricky because I have to be very, very, very careful that I'm not creating something out of thin air simply because self-pity is where my previous security net was. That is where I lived. That is where I stayed. I was like victim mode 100%. So like self-pity is the place that I feel the most safe. So I have to be very careful because sometimes I can create, you know, situations out of thin air where I'm like, oh, well, people don't like me. Nobody wants my services, blah, blah, blah. And then go down this path where like, I'm like, what? At what point was I going to let that control me? I'm not, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. What matters is that I'm showing up for me. I'm showing up for the people that need my services and need my product and my family. And that I am just doing what I want to do because I know intuitively this is what is going to serve others. Great. Cool. That's all I need. I don't need. So I'm actively choosing to let go of what ultimately just doesn't serve me. And so therefore, in some ways, and I've been really much more active on TikTok lately, I kind of like it when people don't agree with my, whatever it is, like my opinion, like in the comments, because it gets me to practice. And I'm like, I told my husband yesterday, I said, I really triggered some people, and the comments were like full of like, oh no, like this is whatever. They were disagreeing with me. And I just kind of giggled to myself because I was like, I kind of like this. I like that it gives me the chance to back myself up. Like, am I going to be swayed by what other people think? Nope, absolutely not. I'm like, hello, like I'm talking about this stuff because I know that it is going to help other people. And ultimately, I'm doing this for me. I'm having fun here. I'm talking about this. Like, I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I didn't like to do it. Absolutely not. Like, of course, I want it, it has a double meaning. Like, being there for me allows me, again, to be there for the people that truly need it, which allows me to serve in a better way. Like, haters, cool, whatever. Being canceled, cool, whatever. But ultimately, it's like, I have me. I have my own back. Like, those thoughts don't really trigger me. They don't really feel like they are imperative to my success or where I'm going, because I know where I'm going. And what my role is to stay focused and to choose me actively. And sometimes that's multiple times a day, where if you're on an emotional roller coaster, it's that time of the month where you have to be like, okay, I got you. I got you, Miriam. Like, this is good. We're going to pivot. We're going to do what we need to do. But like, either way, I have my own back. So how do you let go? Well, this comes back to your belief systems. What do you want? How do you want to feel about yourself? How are you going to, the things that define who you are, where are those coming from? Because I sure as hope they're not coming from society. I sure as hope that they're not coming from something someone said when you were in high school, or something maybe an ex-boyfriend said, or something when you were, 5, 6, 10 years ago. Your definition of who you are and who you're going to become, who are setting those terms? Because like, it is super easy to be like, oh, well, the internet set those terms. Society set those terms. Like, my mom set those terms because she was like forcing me to like eat salads all throughout like high school. I don't know. Like, who is setting those terms, and who do you want to set those terms? Because you are the one that has the control. You are the one that is able to be like, you know what? F society and whatever they think. And like, I'm just going to lean on me. But in order to open up that door, you have to be willing to see that you can be your own security net, that you can have your own back, that you don't need anything else. Okay, what does it feel like to not need anything else, Miriam? Pause for dramatic effect, because what does that feel like? What can really get people caught up is that, similar to feeling safe with stillness, it's a very similar feeling, because now there's like you're not seeking your value and your worth from outside you. It's coming from inside. And what that can, and when you're like working through this process and you're like, yeah, I'm going to back me up, there's just silence, because your brain is not like tripping over itself and constantly using all this energy to like find sources and like, oh, I need to talk to my best friend because I need her to tell me that I look good, or send selfies or whatever out there. Like, no, you don't need to do that. You can take selfies for you. You can take awesome clothing, mirror pics for you, but first and foremost, it has to be for you. It can't be for somebody else. You can't be doing things in order to gain something from somebody else. You have to gain that from you. You are the solution here. The answer in achieving and getting unshakable self-confidence comes from you being willing to choose you. So this is a very similar theme to the last podcast episode where Katie and I were talking about how to not the last one, it was 2 episodes ago, where we were talking about why it's so critical for moms to do less. And it's a very similar theme. You have to choose you. Feminine energy is about choosing to see you. It is about accepting and cultivating the real soul version of you. Self-confidence naturally just comes. It comes when you're like, yeah, I don't really need to be somebody else. I don't really need to dress a certain way other than literally just what I want. I don't need to feel like, I don't need to go chasing compliments. I don't need to dress a certain way in order to get compliments from guys. Like when I go to the bar, I don't need any of that. Like, I just need to do what I want to do and to gain my own approval and to do things out of my own joy because I want it. Because that's what lights me up and that's what makes me feel good, and that's all that matters. What makes me feel good is all that matters in this context. Now, I'm not saying to go out and like, binge eat. That's not what I mean when I say like go out and make yourself feel good, because that has a negative effect. Also, I just want to kind of put a plug in here that if I'm not quite fully making as much sense as I was in the past, I just recently switched my eating. Had to, because of this whole like bloating situation. And so my brain is, it's like not quite fully keeping up with me like it normally does. So appreciate you if you've gotten this far into the podcast episode and you're like, okay, yeah, that's making sense. I trust my intuition and the universe 100% when it comes to these podcasts. I'm like, oh yeah, this is really important for me to talk about. And so here's hoping it has been, it's translating correctly. But I do, of course, ask for your forgiveness if it's not quite as cohesive and seamless as it might normally be. So what are your takeaways here? So we talked about, is there shame around you being a confident person? Where might that be coming from? Okay. Where is the root of validation where you're seeking it? Why can't it come from you? And then letting go. What is it like to let go? And also, what is it like to feel confident? Oh, shoot. Because I'm going to tell you right now, being confident gives you so much energy because you're not spending all of your time seeking validation elsewhere because you don't need it anymore. So you just end up like having more energy for all the other amazing things that as you should have. You should have energy for the things that you value and that you love in your life. And instead of feeling exasperated and traumatized by going out and getting clothes, it's like, I have no issues buying and like changing clothes sizes. I'm just like, whatever. It doesn't have any effect on who I am as a person. I chose to let go of that. I'm not going to subscribe to being affected and have my identity be altered by a number on a piece of clothing. Hello. We've only been living in an age where clothing is made for certain sizes for only like barely 100 years. Everything was always custom made to the body before that. And so it's like, I'm not going to subscribe to that. Like, there would have been nothing wrong with my body in the past. Like, it just would have been made. It would have been like, okay, well, we're just going to tailor this to your body. Cool. Perfect. I'm not numbers. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't need it to mean anything to me. Clothing is going to serve me, not I'm going to serve clothes. I'm not going to let that determine my happiness and my enjoyment in my life, right? So by having unshakable self-confidence, not only are you going to magnetize the people that are like meant for you, both friends and or partners, and also have a dramatic change in your relationship if you are in a relationship right now, it's a game changer because people start noticing you and they're like, oh, okay. You start feeling more comfortable and more like, because you're just like, oh, things, for example, like for me, even doing this podcast in a video format or showing up more on TikTok and showing up more on social media, like, it felt a little bit uncomfortable, but I was like, hold on, I'm doing this for me. Like, I don't really care what people think. Like, I'm just going to do this for me. I'm just going to show up in a way that feels really comfortable for me. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to overthink this. I don't need to find my validation doesn't need to come from social media. So again, every single time I show up on social media, I have to have that conversation with myself because it's like, okay, yeah, I'm choosing me. And so from the outside, it's like, yeah, she's got unshakable self-confidence, but like, okay, but I also have to choose it multiple times a day, every single day. I have to choose me. That's the work that goes behind the outside appearance of having unshakable self-confidence. So, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't ever want to succumb to societal's standards of beauty and like the whole issues with like finding clothes and the frustrations of feeling like I'm being judged when I go to a networking event or whatever. Like no, never again. I will never subscribe to that again. I would much rather choose myself any day of the week because I know that all that matters is that I have me. This is what really matters most, and I can help more people that way because now my energy is not being spent chasing validation from outside myself. I'm chasing my own validation. So therefore, I'm able to have much more time and energy for other people in my business to serve others. So I really hope that was really helpful because I know that, and yes, it is a version of self-love, 100%, but it's like goes deeper than that Because when you are actively supporting you, like your best friend is like cheering you on, your whole life starts changing. And you're just like, oh, you start seeing more opportunities. You start getting more energy. You start like, it's like your vision changes. And all of a sudden, like the blinders come off and you're like, what? I've been living life like this before. Like life is so incredible now because there's just so much joy, but you do have to tap into, can I sit with the feeling of what it's like to be a badass on the inside and on the outside without any other kind of attachment to it? I don't need to look a certain way. I don't need to dress a certain way. I don't need to conform to any kind of standards. I can, still be an amazing human being and have unshakable self-confidence. It doesn't have to mean arrogance. It's not going to have any negative repercussions other than the fact that, you might lose some friends. That might happen. You might have people like leave your world because they're just like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. Too bad for them, because now you're you and you love that and you have more joy and happiness now than you ever did before. Their loss, is it going to hurt? Yeah, probably. But it's like you are going to gain so much more than that, and the right people are going to come into your life because they're going to be like, oh, she's really loving, like she's just her and she feels safe and comfortable being her. Like that's freaking amazing. I want to be around that. I want to be around more of that. Think about the people in your life that who are truly embracing that and living that, and you're like, oh, I want to hang out with them. How can I take their energy and absorb it? But that's not really how it works. It's like, you can enjoy it while you're around them, but ultimately it comes down to how can you choose that for yourself? How can you create your own joy and energy that other people are going to enjoy? Because ultimately you are absolutely freaking amazing. You are absolutely freaking amazing. What is it going to take for you to actively choose that every single day and to not feel and to unsubscribe to the perpetuation of negativity that you might be experiencing? You don't need to self-shame. You don't need to talk negatively about yourself. You don't need to be a victim. You can stand tall and proud in who you are and have a better life because of it, and be able to serve other people better because of it, because now you're focused less on what can I get from them and instead focused on, oh, I already have everything I need. Great. This leaves more room for so many other things, even at work, even at hanging out with your friends. Oh my gosh, it is so freaking game changing. Anyways, I really, really want to know what your thoughts are on this episode. So if you haven't already, come and join the Facebook group, The Intuitive Woman. The link is going to be down below. I would love to know what your takeaways are this from, or if there was anything that you were like, that doesn't really make sense. Can you explain more? Would love to explain it to you. I always respond to every single post, comment in that Facebook group. And if you're not already, come and follow me on TikTok. My handle is @MiriamBulcher. Always having conversations there. Would love to have your either support or just your like, I want to learn more, because I love, my new biggest obsession is like replying to comments on TikTok. So if you want to come and drop me a comment or initiate a conversation there, that would be amazing. And of course, if you can share with a friend, give us a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on YouTube. As always, all the links are down below to all those things. And I just appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. And I will see you in the next podcast episode.